A storm is brewing across Britain as the upcoming budget under Prime Minister Keir Starmer's Labour government threatens to shake the very foundation of middle-class savings and pensions. With leaks and rumours hinting at a major tax raid targeting those with savings, investments, and even modest property income, the public backlash is only intensifying. Starmer, in a recent interview, revealed that in his vision, working people are defined by a monthly paycheck, not by those relying on savings or investments. This stance has ignited fears that Labour's true agenda may be a full-blown class war against those who've worked hard to build up their nest eggs. Before diving into the full breakdown, remember to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell to stay up to date on the latest political bombshells and budget updates. You won't want to miss a single development in this story that's set to impact millions of Britons. During an intense interview, Starmer was pressed on what qualifies as working people, a critical term in Labour's election manifesto, which promised that this group would be shielded from tax hikes. Starmer defined working people as those who go out and earn their living, usually paid in a sort of monthly cheque. He continued by saying that if you're someone who can't write a cheque to get out of difficulties, you're a working person. However, when asked if Britons with income from assets, savings or investments would count as working people, Starmer's response was clear: they wouldn't. This answer has triggered a wave of frustration across Britain. Those who have worked hard and invested for their futures now worry they are in Labour's crosshairs for hefty new tax burdens. With Chancellor Rachel Reeves preparing to deliver her highly anticipated budget speech, these Britons are now bracing for possible hikes in capital gains and inheritance taxes, levies that could hit middle-class savers, retirees, and anyone who has worked to build modest wealth. The looming budget is already under intense scrutiny. Labour's pledge to shield working people from tax hikes now seems ambiguous, leaving many questioning who truly falls under this protection. Capital gains tax, which currently applies to most assets over £6,000, such as second homes and shares not held in ISAs, is speculated to be a prime target for hikes. Similarly, inheritance tax, a levy on the estate of deceased individuals, could also be raised, further complicating family wealth transfers. Rachel Reeves, who has remained tight-lipped on specifics, alluded to these difficult decisions when questioned on her budget priorities. In August, she emphasised the need for additional funding, a £22 billion gap, to address the fiscal black hole Labour claims it inherited. Yet the leaked details now paint a far more drastic picture, with Reeves's team hinting that the deficit may be closer to £40 billion, necessitating deep reforms to taxes. Starmer's exclusionary definition of working people is now raising alarms that Labour's real focus is on stripping down middle-class assets. The anticipated tax hikes have sparked backlash from critics who claim that Labour is misdirecting its financial targets. Starmer seems intent on punishing ordinary people who've worked, saved and invested responsibly, says Lord Daniel Moylan, a Conservative peer. He argues that Labour's policies appear to be rooted in a divisive class war mentality, one that unfairly targets those who've built modest financial security. It's this idea that the middle-class savers are somehow less deserving of protection because they can write a cheque for a crisis, Moylan explained. Labour's rhetoric is treating them as part of the super-rich when they're anything but. The rumoured capital gains tax hikes have raised concerns about retirees and savers who have relied on investments to ensure a steady income during their later years. The looming threat of tax reform on capital gains and inheritance has left many questioning whether Labour's new approach will ultimately discourage savings altogether. Labour is punishing those who've invested in their futures responsibly. This could have a devastating impact on savers across the country, stated an independent financial analyst. Even within Labour, Starmer's new tax strategy has created a rift. Former Shadow Chancellor John McDonnell openly challenged Starmer's classification of working people. It's wrong to exclude people who've worked hard and saved. Those people are not the super-rich, McDonnell argued. He went on to say that addressing the past is essential to dealing with the future, in an apparent reference to the pension and savings that millions have built up over decades. Some Labour MPs have privately expressed fears that Labour's actions could be seen as class warfare against Middle Britain, alienating a significant portion of Labour's own voter base. According to leaked internal reports, Labour backbenchers are increasingly worried that targeting savings and investments could destroy any appeal to middle-class voters, particularly those in previously Labour-leaning constituencies who have embraced Reform UK, or even Conservative positions on savings and wealth. Labour's tax strategies could also send shockwaves through the public sector. Labour's base has traditionally included teachers, NHS staff and civil servants who may face higher taxes on their pension savings. Dr. Vishal Sharma, head of the British Medical Association's Pensions Committee, warned that any tax changes targeting pensions could force even more skilled NHS staff to retire early. "Our NHS can't afford to lose any more staff," he stated, adding that previous tax policies have already created a mass exodus of doctors opting for early retirement rather than facing punitive taxes on their pensions. Tom Selby, Public Policy Director at AJ Bell, echoed this sentiment. According to Selby, a recent AJ Bell poll found that pensions tax reform is one of the most unpopular ideas Labour has floated, garnering support from only 22% of Britons. "Our NHS staff have saved for retirement after years of service. Labour should support that, not punish it," he said. Critics warn that Labour's gamble on new taxes could harm the wider economy. By potentially stifling savings, they argue that Labour could inadvertently hinder long-term financial security for millions and even destabilise investment in key sectors. A financial advisor commented, "Labour's tax moves could force families to cash out investments, destabilising not only their future but the broader economy." With news of tax hikes spreading, financial advisors report that families and retirees are scrambling to prepare, reviewing their portfolios and weighing potential cash-outs before the budget hits. Economists worry that Labour's approach could lead to a longer-term shift away from saving, with consequences that could last far beyond this year's budget. As we approach Budget Day, Labour's traditional base and middle-class voters alike are watching closely. Starmer's government may have to balance between raising funds and maintaining public support. A recent poll by AJ Bell showed that 2/3 of Britons fear the personal impact of Labour's anticipated tax hikes. Many are concerned that these new measures could affect not only their current standard of living, but also their retirement plans. For many observers, Labour's proposed tax reforms are about more than just filling a financial gap. They're seen as a reflection of Starmer's ideological shift, one that divides rather than unites. If Starmer pushes forward with these tax plans, Labour risks a backlash from a significant voter base that could drastically alter the political landscape in the next election. The countdown to Budget Day continues. Stay tuned as we uncover the full extent of Starmer's tax plans and the impact they'll have on Britain's savers, investors and retirees. Don't forget to like, subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss a single detail in this developing story.